The old Victorian house loomed large, a monolith of brick and shadow against the dying light. Its towering spires and intricate woodwork cast eerie silhouettes, creating an almost otherworldly presence. It was my inheritance, a relic of a past I barely remembered from a family I hardly knew. The house stood as a testament to a lineage shrouded in mystery and whispers. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood, a testament to years of neglect. Each breath I took seemed to draw in the history of the place, a history that felt both distant and hauntingly close. Each footstep echoed through the cavernous halls, a lonely sound that underscored the profound silence of the house. The echoes seemed to carry whispers of the past, as if the walls themselves were trying to communicate. I wandered through rooms draped in dust sheets, their outlines ghostly in the fading light. The furniture, hidden beneath layers of fabric, seemed like spectres frozen in time, waiting for someone to uncover their secrets. The air was stale, thick with the weight of forgotten memories. It felt as though the house was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to bring it back to life. A grandfather clock stood frozen in the hall, its silence deafening. The hands were stuck at a time long past, as if marking the moment when the house had been abandoned to its fate. I felt a chill crawl down my spine, a sense of unease settling in the pit of my stomach. It was as if the house itself was aware of my presence, and it didn't welcome me. The house felt alive, its silence a living presence. Every corner seemed to watch me. Every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own. It watched me, I was sure of it. The feeling of being observed was so intense it was almost palpable. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of wind in the eaves sent a jolt of fear through me. The house seemed to be speaking in its own language, a language of creaks and whispers. I was alone, utterly alone in this house of shadows and secrets. The isolation was profound, as if the house had swallowed me whole. The lawyer had called it a charming fixer-upper. His words now seemed like a cruel joke, a gross understatement of the reality I faced. He hadn't mentioned the oppressive atmosphere, the feeling of being constantly observed. It was as if the house had eyes, watching my every move, judging me, or the shadows that seemed to writhe and dance at the edge of my vision. They moved with a life of their own, creating an ever-present sense of dread and anticipation. The first few nights were the hardest. The silence was almost unbearable, broken only by the groan of the old house settling around me. Sleep offered no escape, only a descent into a restless realm of half-formed fears and unsettling dreams. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, too low to decipher, yet undeniably present. One night, I woke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest. A cold draft snaked across my face, and the distinct feeling of being watched washed over me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I lay there frozen, listening for any sound that would betray the source of my unease. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy. I told myself it was just the wind, a draught finding its way through the old house's bones. But deep down, a primal fear whispered a different truth. Something was here with me, unseen, lurking in the shadows. Days turned into weeks, each one blurring into the next in a haze of apprehension and dread. The strange occurrences continued. Objects moved inexplicably. Footsteps echoed in the dead of night. I tried to rationalize them away, but the fear had taken root, twisting its tendrils around my sanity. It was during a bout of restless exploration that I stumbled upon the hidden door. I had been wandering the house for hours, driven by an inexplicable urge to uncover its secrets. Concealed behind a tapestry in the attic, it was almost invisible, its outline blending seamlessly with the aged wood paneling. The craftsmanship was impeccable, designed to keep it hidden from prying eyes. Curiosity, or perhaps a morbid fascination with the house's secrets, compelled me to open it. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, a mix of excitement and dread coursing through me. The air inside was frigid, stagnant, carrying the scent of decay and something else, something faintly metallic. It was as if the room had been sealed for centuries, untouched by time. A shiver shot down my spine. The cold was not just physical, it seemed to seep into my very soul, chilling me to the core. The room was bare, devoid of furniture, its only feature a large, ornate mirror that took up almost an entire wall. The mirror's frame was intricately carved, depicting scenes of myth and legend. It was covered in a thick layer of grime, obscuring its reflection. I could barely make out my own silhouette in the murky surface. As I stepped closer, compelled by an unknown force, I felt a cold hand grip my heart. The air grew heavier, and my breath came in shallow gasps. My reflection in the grimy surface seemed wrong somehow, its eyes burning with an eerie intensity that sent chills down my spine. It was as if the mirror held a different version of me, one that was alive and watching. It was then that I noticed it. A faint outline behind me, a shadowy figure barely perceptible in the dim light. My heart skipped a beat as I tried to make sense of the apparition. I whirled around, my heart hammering against my ribs, but the room was empty. The silence was deafening, amplifying my fear. I was alone, or was I? The question echoed in my mind, feeding my growing paranoia. The feeling of being watched intensified, a suffocating presence that clung to me like a shroud. Every shadow seemed to move, every creak of the floorboards a whisper of unseen eyes. The house was alive, I realized, and it was watching me. Its ancient walls held secrets, and I had just become a part of its story. Reflections of fear in shattered glass. The mirror became an obsession. I couldn't stay away. Every day I found myself drawn to it, unable to resist its pull. It was as if it held some dark fascination, drawing me in with an unseen force. The more I tried to resist, the stronger the compulsion grew. Each time I looked into its depths, I saw the shadowy figure lurking at the edge of my vision, a phantom presence that vanished whenever I turned to confront it. It was maddening, this game of hide and seek with a spectre. One night, driven by a desperate need for answers, I found myself standing before the mirror once more. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on me. The house was silent, the air thick with anticipation. Every creak of the floorboards seemed amplified. Every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing in the oppressive stillness. It was as if the very walls were closing in on me, suffocating me with their silence. As I stared into my reflection, a wave of dizziness washed over me. Panic surged through me, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. What was happening to me? Why couldn't I look away? I stumbled back, my hand connecting with the edge of a dusty table. The rough wood bit into my palm, grounding me in the present moment. There was a deafening crash as a vase toppled to the floor, shattering into 1,000 pieces. The sound was jarring, a stark contrast to the oppressive silence that had filled the room. The sound seemed to reverberate through the house, breaking the spell that had held me captive. It was as if the crash had shattered the hold the mirror had on me. And then I saw it. The figure in the mirror was no longer a fleeting shadow. The figure in the mirror was no longer a shadowy outline. It was becoming more real, more tangible. It was clearer now, more defined. Every detail of its grotesque form was etched into the glass. It was me, or rather, a grotesque mockery of me. A twisted version of myself that seemed to revel in my fear. Its eyes blazed with an unholy light, and a cruel smile twisted its lips. It was as if it was feeding off my terror, growing stronger with each passing second. Terror, raw and primal, seized me. I was trapped, unable to look away from the horrifying reflection that seemed to mock my very existence. Descent into madness. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. Sleep offered no respite, only a descent into a terrifying world of shadows and whispers. The house played tricks on my mind, amplifying my fears, feeding on my terror. Footsteps followed me. Phantom touches sent shivers down my spine. I became a prisoner in my own home, too terrified to leave, too afraid to stay. The walls seemed to close in on me, the shadows pressing against me like suffocating hands. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the window pane sent my heart racing, my mind conjuring up horrors both real and imagined. The house had become my tormentor, and I, its willing victim. It fed on my fear, my sanity slowly unraveling with each passing day. I was losing my grip on reality, slipping further into the abyss of madness. The Watcher, as I had come to think of it, was always present, lurking just beyond the veil of my perception. It was a constant shadow, a chilling reminder of the darkness that had seeped into my soul. I was trapped in a waking nightmare, and there was no escape. Ultimate fate.